Thank you, everybody. It's an absolute honor to be here today on Memorial Day, especially in front of so many veterans that have been the generations before us here. You know, a lot of thoughts go through my mind on this day, and there's a lot of mixed emotions. There's a lot of solemn. There's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of mourning. But there's also a lot of honor to think about what this day means. I was fortunate to have served for 9 years. Had a lot of classmates, a lot of teammates that I served with. Some of them unfortunately aren't here with us anymore. But when I think about who I served with, they're exactly just like the men and women I see in front of me that were 1 or 2 generations before us. They were just like the generations that started back in 1776. I would argue that this country didn't start because of the Declaration of Independence. This country started because of the Continental Army. And the men and women who made up that army are just like the men and women right in front of you here today that have served our country with honor. They're the ones that we're remembering today on Memorial Day, the ones who didn't come back and gave the ultimate sacrifice. Now, we're definitely the greatest country in the world. And today it's important to just remember why we're the greatest country in the world. And it's because of the men and women who served, the men and women who are on the memorial behind us, and in every other little town in the country right now. Holbrook, Cohasset, Scituate, Fitchburg, all over Massachusetts and all over the country. Now I can tell one story here that's very emblematic of so many other stories, but I'm just going to tell you a little story about what happened back in July of 2005 in Afghanistan. There was a group of 4 young men that went in, Navy guys. They were in there to track down one of the Taliban. They came across a young shepherd and his son. They decided not to do anything with these shepherd and his son. They let him go. Within about an hour, these 4 men were encountered by over 150 Taliban. They fought for about 3 or 4 hours, getting shot multiple times. And then the lieutenant who was in charge, who had been shot a number of times already, knew he had to call for reinforcement. He went up and found the highest ground. He had the radio, knowing full well that he was going to expose himself and probably wouldn't come down from that hill. But he knew he had to get up there and call for help because his teammates were still down there fighting. He got to the top of the hill, made the call. A group of 11 young men got into a helicopter immediately, not even thinking twice about what they were going to encounter, to go there and help these 4 men. Now that young lieutenant who got up on top of that hill, after making the call, he had the wherewithal, under withering fire, to say thank you as his last words. He was killed shortly thereafter. The 11 men who got into that helicopter flew in there to rescue these men, and they were shot down. And they all also lost their lives. Only one person made it out of there, famously known as the lone survivor. Now people ask, there's a famous line in the movie people may have seen, you know, where do you get such young men and women? You get them right here. In towns like Holbrook, in towns all over the country here and all over the state of Massachusetts. And it's important that we remember why we have Memorial Day. It's important to remember the legacy and the honor of the men and women who have gone before us. But I think it's even more important that not only do we honor the legacy, but that we teach the honor and the legacy to the next generation. Because while this country is the greatest country in the world, and the greatest country that's ever been, we'll stop being that greatest country if we forget to stop honoring the legacy of the men and women who went before us. So it's an honor to be here. I wish every day was Memorial Day. I know there's going to be a lot of cookouts, a lot of barbecues, a lot of families getting together. But just please remember, as we all do today, that every day should be Memorial Day, and we should all give thanks, not only to the men and women who have served in front of us here, but to remember those who came before us and gave the ultimate sacrifice. And it wasn't for themselves. Not every one of them has a statue or a plaque named after them, but they all share the same common cause of why they serve. They serve because they put their country first. Thank you very much. God bless America.